Okay, welcome students. Welcome to the second lecture of module 2, pumps and actuators. So in the last class we have discussed about what is the importance of pump and what are the classifications we have made it. In that we have discussed that mainly the pumps are classified into two types. One is positive displacement pumps and another one is non-positive displacement pumps. We have discussed that. So now next we are going to discuss about the positive displacement pumps in this whatever the lecture. The main topics which we are covering in this lecture is the whatever the principle of positive displacement pump working. Then we are going to discuss about some of the gear pumps, how they are going to work and what are its constructions. Okay, let's start the class. Okay, we'll start with the pump theory. So, pumping theory of positive displacement pumps. Pumps operate on a principle whereby a partial vacuum is created at the pump inlet due to the internal operation of the pump. So, what happens in here? So, the main pumps are working with respect to the partial vacuum. Okay, why we call it as in this whatever the partial vacuum is the important part, because since when the partial vacuum is created in the pump, that tends to make the high pressure whatever the atmospheric high pressure will tends to push the fluid into the vacuum area. Okay, so by that the sucking of whatever the liquid takes place. So that's why the partial vacuum is created at the pump inlet. Okay, what happens? The pump will make some action, such as reciprocation or rotation. So that will make the pump to create a partial vacuum at that portion. Due to that, due to the internal operation of a pump. This allows the atmospheric pressure to push the fluid out of oil reservoir. Okay, what happens? The atmospheric pressure will push that fluid from the low atmospheric pressure to the high atmospheric pressure. Okay, so that will make that movement of liquid from tank to the inlet of the pump and into the pump intake. The pump then mechanically pushes the fluid out of the discharge line. So what happens when the fluid enters into the pump? Again, that pump will make the mechanical action by that whatever the pump is going to be pushed to the next unit. Okay, so like that, this pumping theory is going to act in here. So we will detailedly see this. So for to understand this, whatever the pumping the action, we have to consider the reciprocating pump. Okay. So in here I have shown a diagram of a reciprocating pump. So we'll see the construction. So this is the tank. This is the reservoir where the oil is stored. This is the strainers where the coarser material is going to be filtered. This is the line, the pipeline, inlet pipeline, which is connected to the whatever the reciprocating pump. This is the housing of the reciprocating pump. This is the reciprocating piston with a connecting rod, and you can see the walls in here. This is the inlet wall and this is the outlet wall. Okay, so you can see this reciprocation of this piston will tends to make this walls open and close. Okay, and this is the outlet of the pump. So what happens when the piston, this whatever the piston which is reciprocating inside this cylinder, okay, the cylinder casing. So what happens when the piston move left side? Okay, when the piston move left side, it will create the partial vacuum at this portion. Okay, what happens? This will create the partial vacuum. Because of this partial vacuum, the valve gets open at this portion. Okay, and this whatever the valve will get closed. Okay, because of this partial vacuum, this valve opens, this valve get closed. So what happens? Because of this partial vacuum, whatever the atmospheric pressure pushes the liquid from the whatever the tank to the vacuum, whatever the vacuum where the partial vacuum is created, to that inlet portion, this whatever the liquid is going to be pushed. So because of that, the valve is open, the liquid is filled inside this whatever the piston cylinder cavity. So initially this whatever the liquid is in a low pressure. When the piston move in a left portion, it will be in the low pressure. Okay, so this is the first stage. This is called as a suction stroke. So next what happens in the delivery stroke, this piston moves right side. Okay, it will move from left to right side. So what happens, it will closes this whatever the inlet wall because of the high pressure, and and this will opens this whatever the outlet wall. Okay, and it will create some pressure, high pressure, so that the liquid is collected at this whatever the cavity, it will push us to the outlet in a higher pressure. Okay, so like this, the reciprocation of this piston, okay, the reciprocation of piston will tends to make the pumping action of a whatever the system. So like that, this whatever the working principle works in this whatever the reciprocating pump. Similarly, if you take a rotatory machine, whatever the pumps are rotating pumps, what happens in there also you are going to experience the partial vacuum. Because of that, the liquid is going to be sucked inside this whatever the pump chamber, and it will be pushed to the outside the higher pressure. So same thing is going to happen in this whatever the. So this is the pumping theory of a reciprocating pump. Okay. So you can see the diagram, whatever the video. So you can see here. So this is the suction out of the port. This is the discharge port, and whatever the piston is reciprocating. And you can see the wall opening and closing in here. This is the suction wall or inlet wall. This is the discharge wall or outlet wall. This is the piston. This is the crank, whatever the crank head, and it will be connected to the connecting rod, and this is the crankshaft. So like that, it is going to be acting inside this whatever the cylinder, piston cylinder. The same thing, you can see at the suction, the inlet wall opens, and at the same suction stroke, outlet wall closes. Similarly, when the wall in the delivery stroke, what happens? The inlet wall closes and outlet wall is going to be open. So by that, this pumping action is going to take place in this whatever the reciprocatory pump. Okay. So let's see some classifications under the positive displacement pumps. Okay, we have briefly discussed about the classifications in the pump section, but in the positive displacement pump section, we have further classification. So we have gear pumps, we have vane pumps, we have piston pumps. So in the every pump system, we have some more other types of pumps. One is in the gear pumps, we have external gear pump, internal gear pump, lobe pump, gear rotor pump, and screw pump. So these are the types of gear pumps which are present in the whatever the gear pump section. In the vane pump section, we will find balanced vane pump and the unbalanced vane pump. Okay. Next, in the piston pumps, we will find the axial type and radial type. So like that, we have made the classifications of a positive displacement pumps. We will discuss one by one. First, we will go to the gear pumps. So what is this gear pumps? The gear pumps are less expensive but limited to the low pressure. Okay, before going to this explanation, we will see what is gear pump. Gear pump is nothing but it's a mechanical device which is used to pump the fluid from the whatever the reservoir to the required area. That is the operation here. So in the gear pumps, we always find the gears which will contribute the pumping action. Okay, the pumping action takes place because of the gear operation in here. So that is the gear pumps. The gear pumps are less expensive because whatever the devices which will be locally available, and the construction is also somewhat inexpensive. That's why it is called as less expensive, but it have the limited low pressure. So we can't find the higher pressure by using the gear pumps, but low pressure application we can use the gear pumps. It is noisy in operation. So that is the one of the limitation. Why? Because the gears are meshing. So because of meshing operation, what happens? The noise is going to be generated. So that's why it is considered as noisy compared to the vane and piston pumps. Vane piston pumps are somewhat less noisy compared to the gear pump. Gear pumps are invariably of fixed displacement type. So this is very important. So what happens? Gear pumps are fixed displacement type of pumps. So what is this fixed displacement type? So fixed displacement type is nothing but the fixed amount of whatever the liquid is going to be transmitted from the gear pump. Because of that, the fixed amount of displacement can be expected. So that is why it is called as a fixed displacement. and we can't vary this. Okay, we can't vary the displacement of a whatever the operation. By that, it is considered as a fixed displacement. But if you go to the vane pump and piston pumps, they are variable displacement pumps. Why? Because we can vary the displacement, and by that we can have the more application of that, which means that the amount of fluid displaced for each revolution of the drive shaft is theoretically constant. It says that the fluid which is displaced is going to be constant in here. But if you see the vane pump and piston pumps, the whatever the fluid is which is going to be discharged or displaced, it's going to be varied by some arrangements. Okay, there are two types of gear pumps. Actually, there are five types. You can, as I explained in the earlier, external gear pump, internal gear pump. The extra in that we are also having some other types of, that is gerotar, screw pumps. We can see here the classification: external gear pump, internal gear pump, lobe pump, gerotar pump, screw pump. So these are the types in this. What are the gear pumps? So what is this external gear pumps? We will see the construction first. So what is this gear pumps? What are the things which are present in here? So in this is the external gear pump, which will consisting of a two spur gears. Okay, which is consisting of a two spur gears, where one is the driver gear, one is the driven gear. Okay, which are tends to rotate in opposite direction. By that, it will make the meshing inside the pump housing. So this is the pump housing where the two gears are going to be meshing with each other. Okay, so this is the inlet and this is the outlet. So what we can expect in the working is, so what happens in the working? So the driver gear will be rotated by using some prime movers. So because of this rotation of this driver gear in this direction, when the driver gear rotates in this direction, it will mesh with this driven gear or follower gear. It will rotate in this direction. So it will be rotating in opposite direction, will make some partial vacuum in this whatever the cavity. In this portion, the partial vacuum is created. Because of that, the whatever the atmospheric pressure will tends to push the oil or liquid inside this inlet chamber from the reservoir. So the whatever the liquid which is collected at here, it will be trapped inside this whatever the gears and this pump housing periphery. Okay, so this pump housing walls and this whatever the gear cavity will trap that oil, and it will make that oil to move in this whatever. It will the trapped oil will be transmitted around this periphery of this whatever the pump housing to this whatever this portion. So like that, this both gears are going to operate in opposite way, and it will make the whatever the liquid which is trapped in this whatever the gears and the pump walls, the housing walls will make, and it will collect this whatever the liquid at this portion. So what happens continuously when this whatever the gears will transmit this liquid, the higher pressure is going to be achieved at this portion. Okay, by that the liquid is going to be transmitted to the outlet. So the whatever at the inlet, the liquid at a low pressure, at the outlet the liquid is going to be at a high pressure. You can see the one by one portion. The vacuum is created here. As the teeth unmesh, oil enters from the reservoir. So when the teeth unmesh at this portion, the vacuum is created. By that, the liquid is going to be collected at here. The oil is carried around the housing in the chambers formed between the teeth housing and side plates. So whatever the liquid is going to be transmitted in this direction by the whatever the trapped oil between this gear and the housing. Next, and forced out the of pressure port as the teeth go back into the mesh, and it will force down this whatever liquid at this portion. Outlet pressure against teeth causes heavy side loading on the shaft as the indicated by arrow. So what happens? The outlet pressure against the teeth causes the heavy side loading. So what happens? This side loading takes place by the both directions, and it will make the higher pressure at this portion, and it will make the liquid to move in this outlet direction. So like that, this what the gear pump works. Okay, you can see this working. You can see the liquid is collected here, then the liquid is going to trapped, and it will be transmitted in this direction, and it will be expelled out like that. You can see the blue colored is a liquid, You can see how this will be collected and it will be transmitted, okay, and it will be transmitted to the this portion, outlet portion, with a higher pressures. So though this type, the working of whatever the gears is going to be take place in this whatever the gear pumps. Okay, next is the internal gear pump. This is the second type in the gear pumps. Okay, so this is the diagram of whatever the internal gear pumps. You can see the internal gear pumps construction in here. So this is the inlet, this is the outlet. So the inlet, and it is consisting of one internal gear, one is the sorry, this is the external gear and this is the internal gear. You can see this is the spur gear. Okay, if you consider it is a spur gear or pinion gear, and this is the ring gear. We can also call it as a ring gear, which is having the gear what are the teeth inside. Okay, so this is internal gear, this is the external gear, and you can see the separation portion. This will be called as crescent seal. This whatever the moon-like structure you can see here, this is called as a crescent seal, which will separate this internal gear and external gear by some apart. Okay, and you can see the whatever the teeth, if you count the teeth, the external gear have lesser teeth compared to the internal gears. This is the internal gear which is have more teeth. This gear is having a lesser teeth to make this the cavity which will make the partial vacuum. Okay, we will see one by one. So first step, the oil enters at this portion. Okay, second, due to the vacuum caused by the unmeshing of the teeth of this gear, the oil enters inside here. Because of the vacuum which is created because of the unmeshing of this external gear and the internal gear, where we can see the unmeshing takes place in here, and because of that vacuum created at this portion, and the oil is going to be pushed inside. Next, the oil is carried in the spaces. You can see the oil is going to be carried spaces. You can see the space is provided here. The oil is collected first here, then the spaces which is between this gap of teeth, external teeth and the internal teeth gaps, it will collect that whatever the liquid, and it will be transmitted. Okay, it will be transmitted throughout the rotation of this whatever the gears, and it will be expelled in the outlet portion, and this and these spaces to this point where the constant meshing of gear forces oil. So what happens when this constant meshing of this gear is takes place at this portion, and it will make the forcing of this whatever the liquid to move out here. Okay, so like that the whatever the action takes place in the internal gear. Okay, so okay, you can see at the outlet what happens, the volume is going to be reduced at this portion. In here the volume increases as the unmeshing takes place, but at this portion the volume get reduces. So the cavity, the space volume is going to be reduces. Because of that it will pushes the liquid to the outlet portion. So like that the high pressure liquid is going to be transmitted, and continuous flow is going to be expected in this type of internal gears. Okay, what are the advantages? The advantages, if you compare, consider in here, it is having the smooth flow operation. As we take in the whatever the external gears, it is noisy, but in here it is a smooth flow operation we can expect. And some of the disadvantages also there. It is having some complicated structure compared to the external gears, so it is having the high cost of construction of this whatever the gears, and it is having the some limited size range. Okay, you can't make a very small pump, so we have some limited size range. By that it should not be reduced with respect to that whatever the size. And uses, it is mainly used in whatever the chemical installations, such as chemical industries, for to transmit the chemical from one point to another point. And if you want to transmit the high viscous fluids, it's also be useful in this type of applications. So these are the advantages and applications of this whatever the internal gear pump. You can see the working in here. Okay, this is actually the model which is presented, actual model. So where you can see this is the ring gear. It will look like in a side view, and this is the gear in the external gear which is presented at the center. It will mesh together inside that whatever the pump housing. You can see the working in here. Okay, so the liquid enters here, it will be trapped inside this whatever the gap between the gears, and it will be transmitted through this whatever the external gear and internal gear cavity, which is teeth cavities, and it will be transmitted to the outlet with a higher pressure. So like that this operation is going to take place. This crescent is acting as a seal between suction stroke and the discharge stroke. The suction stroke and the discharge stroke will be sealed with respect to this whatever the crescent which is present at here. So it is very important part of any internal gear system. So this crescent should be mentioned and it should be explained while when you describe about this internal gear pumps. Okay, what are the advantages of gear pumps? If you generally see this, what are the advantages? Okay, we'll see the advantages of the gear pumps. They are self-priming. So what is the meaning of self-priming means? If you see the pump, when there is no liquid inside the pump, you can always have the air inside that. So air is trapped inside the pumps. So what happens if you want to pump any liquid, you should remove that air. Okay, the air which is present in the pump should be removed. So what happens? So we have to, if we want to remove that, some pumps will have the ability to remove itself by the whatever the pumping of liquid. By using the liquid only, it is going to be removed by that whatever the air to the outside by using some vents. So the pumps which is having self priming, that is having the ability of removing that air by some means. So which is helpful for that whatever the pumping action. So this gear pumps having the ability to remove that air, so that it's called as a self priming. They give constant delivery for a given speed. Okay, so it is a constant delivery means, so constantly that whatever the gears are rotating, so because of that rotation, so constant delivery can be happen. So that is the one of the advantage. They are compact and light in weight. So you can see the small sized pumps can be manufactured by using this gear pump. So it's called as a compact size. If you go for the centrifugal pumps, it is huge in construction. So what happens? So that centrifugal pumps will require larger area for the installation process. Okay. So see some disadvantages for the gear pumps. We have disadvantages in this gear pumps also. The liquid to be pumped must be clean. So since the gears are meshing with each other, if the liquid has some impurities such as the rust particles or some salt particles, it will leads to some corrosion problem. Okay, corrosion, wear problems. So that will leads to improper working of a gear pump. So it should be, the liquid should be cleaned before it is fed inside the gear pumps. Otherwise, it will damage the pump. Variable speed drives are required to change the delivery. So what happens if you want to change the delivery speed? So if you want to change the speed of whatever the pump, so you have to use the variable speed drives. Okay, so variable speed drives should be used. So by that, whatever the variable delivery can be achieved. If they run dry, parts can be damaged because the fluid to be pumped is used as a lubricant. Okay, since if you the gear meshes with each other with no liquid, it will tends to make some wearing action because it will make some damage to the surfaces of gear teeth. So that may leads to damage of that whatever the gears. So it should have some lubricant to manage that, or else the liquid should be always present in the gear pumps so that it should not have any damage and proper lubrication takes place. Oh, thank you, students. Thank you for watching. I think you got a lot of knowledge about the gear pumps. We still have a lot of other types of gear pumps, such as lobe pump, gear rotor, and screw pump. We will discuss in the later classes. I think if you have any doubts regarding this, whatever the pump theory or gear pumps, the two types, you can contact me through any contacts. Okay. Thank you. We will see in the next class.